Well, my family are atheists too, but generally because the British military, I guess there's a lot of mistrust and
Okay.
underlying where is the faith if things like that happen, I guess. Misgivings of people, they do these things, don't they? So what
Yeah.
wars in this day and age have
Yeah.
not begun due to an underlying religious faith?
Yeah.
But I guess, trying to change, it's just not going to happen. The whole ideology and the whole deep-seated faiths of people within this country, and I'm not saying change every faith, but I'm saying the powerful of every country, you can't change that. I've done a lot of thinking about that, consequences of things that you've had to do
Yeah.
that have affected other people in massive ways, and it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling to hold that, and I have a big mistrust of that. I guess it makes me a bit bitter. I guess I could work on that myself. For me, I've done a lot of work on myself,
Yeah.
and inward thinking, and I feel like I've done that work on myself. And
Right.
I struggle with things, but
Yeah.
I talk to my friends and my family about them, and I get through them. Speaking to, I guess, a God that can't speak back to me, I can't really relate to it.
Hi there. I just spoke to a serviceman who was coming from a family of servicemen, and then it was a great conversation. Although I think the bitterness that was in this man's experience that caused him to call himself an atheist was certainly palpable. But I'm glad that he gave me the time to explain why he thought so, and also glad that he gave me a time for me to explain the gospel to him. And I appreciate that he perhaps hasn't moved in his position as a result of the conversation, but I hope that I have at least told him a little bit about why God isn't just to accuse or mock or point to as someone who is a cruel God who allows bad things to happen, but who is a loving God who sent his son as a sacrifice for our sins, who also gives us freedom to do as we will, even to the point of making ourselves his enemies, and yet he still loves us enough to give his son for us. I think that came through hopefully to him, gave him something to at least take away and think about, and yeah, I do pray that his experiences would bring him closer to God, that even he would dare to call out to God, and that God would answer him in that moment. So have a look, see how that conversation went, and as always, feel free to leave a comment, and see you in the next video. Bye. So you said you're an atheist.
Yep.
Would you mind just telling me whether that was always your position in life? Did you sort of change that at any point in your life? Were you, any type of journey that you may have gone through?
Well, my family are atheists too, but generally because the British military, I guess there's a lot of mistrust and
Okay.
underlying where is the faith if things like that happen, I guess.
Right.
So I come from a background of that. Both my parents are British military. I've been in the military, so.
Right. I mean, I don't want to belittle the experiences that soldiers go through, but I've often heard quote being said, there are no atheists in foxholes. Is that something you've heard? Just because people would coming face to face with death, you just turn to the one above, right? To the
I guess, but there's the other outlook on it that if there was, then these things wouldn't happen, I guess. So.
Right. That's interesting that you say that. If there was, did you mean like if there was a God, a loving God, would he allow these atrocities to happen?
Would he allow anything like that?
Yeah.
That disgusting to happen to someone else, But it does.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah. No, it definitely does, right? I mean, what kind of a picture of a God then would you have to have? If there was a God who did not allow those things to happen, how would you imagine that kind of a God? Was he like, would he stop us when we're about to do wrong? Would he like say, don't do it, or something like? What would he be like? What would be his character if he didn't allow those things to happen?
I guess in his own ways he would have to give people the free choice to do what they want to do, wouldn't he? So, but I guess misgivings of people, they do these things, don't they? So
Yeah, yeah.
it'd be very difficult to stop someone doing what they wanted to do in the first place, I guess.
Exactly. So I guess that's what I'm kind of getting to. Is obviously wars are so obviously horrific things, but then thinking about it personally, just if I think about my own example, right, the times that I have done something wrong, and if God stopped me at that point, would I then accuse him? Look, why are you preventing me from exercising my freedom? And
If you prevent somebody, I guess somebody will go ahead and do it anyway.
right.
But I guess if you make that mistake, then you would probably look back on it and try not to do it again. But is that yourself that's doing it to yourself? You're doing that. You're having that question with yourself,
Right.
not with somebody else. You know, it's the way I look at it. It's maybe it's your own demon, isn't it? That you're questioning.
True, but isn't that kind of just expanded to the worldwide scale? I mean, let's call dictators, Putin and other guys who are sort of having the power to move armies to that extent and that level.
So does England.
And England, yeah, look at our past. We weren't saints by any stretch of imagination, right? Is that the prerogative of nations to do? And why would God then stop them to do what they want to do? Is the question.
Does he have the power to stop people?
He has the power to stop. Yeah.
Does he? That's the question. If he did, then
Yeah.
it'd be nice to see it.
Yeah.
But from what I witness, it doesn't happen. Which is the big thing, isn't it? If he did have that power, then it would be good to use it, I would imagine.
Yeah. Let me know what you think about this. How about this view, right? I don't know if you've heard this, right? But if God did exist, right, and he created this world and he gave it to us, right? And he gave us a set of instructions, 10 commandments, let's call it, right? Do not kill, do not lie, do not steal. Those are the kind of the moral standards that he's given us. But he's also given us freedom to exercise, right?
Yeah.
Is that a God that is possible, in this world, right? Wouldn't that be also a loving God, a God who allows you to either choose him or obey him, and also allows you not to choose him?
Well, I
and obey
guess
him,
that
right?
being an atheist, I guess I choose not to. Right?
Yeah.
But I guess a lot of people, even with that faith, choose not to as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of religions out there. They do horrific things.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And I'm not naming names, but there's certain religions, they do things in the name of God
Absolutely.
that are disgraceful in themselves.
Yeah, often
So
all of them.
what wars in this day and age have not begun due to an underlying religious faith.
They did.
And I don't see any war that hasn't. Bosnia.
Yeah.
Ireland.
I'm from Croatia, by the way. Yeah,
Bosnia, Ireland,
yeah.
There's many. Iraq, Afghan, all underlying religious faiths, and in my eyes, I see that as just.
Yeah.
There's no way through it, is there? If you can't see the reasons why they're going to war, then you're blind, and it's all to do with underlying religious faith.
So I agree with you that a lot of the wars have started.
Some of it maybe not. Some of it to do with oil, but
Well, I was going to say,
deep-seated views are religious beliefs that don't agree with each other.
No, I agree completely. I'm not disagreeing with you. So I would say that sometimes it's a misconception that people think most of the world wars have started because of religion. If you look at the encyclopedia, wars,
An ideology or...
Well, ideology
could
is true,
also-
right? So World War I and World War II, which were the wars that killed the
Ideology.
most people, were mostly ideology or power between families.
Also religious beliefs that Jews don't belong on this planet, so that is an underlying religious view that they don't believe that they have the right to exist, which is pretty disgraceful in itself.
No, I agree. Hitler didn't start the war because of Jews. He started the war because of expansionist
But he had an underlying
ideology,
religious faith that he didn't believe they existed, so...
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, he's applied
it all
that.
has its own little twisted way
Yeah.
of sort of coming back to itself.
No, completely. But what the reason I was kind of bringing those up is that isn't it true that whether we call it religion or not, we all have a philosophy that we live by, right?
Yeah.
We can,
You can choose to believe.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Hitler may have called it Aryanism,
Yep.
where he and his race and he wanted to, if you were part of his cabal, right? He was a great leader, right? Because
I guess you would have to believe, wouldn't you?
you would have to believe that, right? Because he is the one who represented your cause, right? That obviously to everyone outside of that group, he was the worst human
Where's
being.
the love in that, though?
Well, where's exactly where from
I
the
guess the deep-seated religion is that love and trust should come from everybody, right?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, so my I guess the point that I'm trying to make, whatever we call it, whether it's ideology or religion, don't we all have it, right? Don't we all have a philosophy
You bear the power to, yeah.
that drives us, right? That drives us, and wouldn't we all say that we have, even whatever standards we have applied for ourselves, we've fallen short of those standards.
Yeah.
Like, forget about my sort
I
of
would agree with
Christian sort of, even as a Christian, you know, you can speak to my wife and she'd say, like, yeah, he's not perfect. He's
No.
falling short. And
But
yeah.
if you could look inwards and change that about yourself, then that makes you a stronger person, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. This is the thing. Like, can we change ourselves, and to what extent can we change ourselves? What can we do to improve ourselves?
One
you know, what does
person
that
at a
look like?
time.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, trying to change, it's just not going to happen. The whole ideology and the whole deep-seated faiths of people within this country, and I'm not saying change every faith, but I'm saying like, you know, the powerful of every country, you can't change that.
Mm-hmm.
They will always have their views, their ideologies, their religious beliefs that always cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know, until that changes, you find it. But you can change yourself.
You can work on yourself.
Yeah.
You can work on yourself.
And that's a
certainly.
very good
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
do, but that's not going to change the world, is it?
It's going to
One
be
person at a time would be a very slow
yeah.
process.
Well, if we look at, I don't know if you agree with this, but if you look at history of humanity, right, a lot of time people would sort of say, look, you know, technology and self-improvement is going to ultimately get us where we need to be. But if you look at the history of humanity, if anything,
Technology's probably done the opposite.
well, exactly, it's done the opposite, right? The discovery of a nuclear bomb has just done more to kill people from it, or you know, the modern benefits that we get from electricity and internet.
Yeah.
We're just
But
we're just
using it for the
them
right things would help, firstly.
exactly.
Rather than using it for an ulterior motive to gain power and strength across other people, you know, it's probably not a good idea.
No, exactly. Which leads me again
But it
to
always happens.
yeah, which to me, let me know what you think about this. But there was a radio program. This must have been decades ago, where people were discussing what's wrong with this world, right? And then the host invited people to call in and say, you know, suggest answers, you know, or suggest, you know, tell me either what's the problem with this world, or give us some solutions for
Yep.
this. And one person called in with a very simple reason for the cause. He says the problem with this world is me, meaning he was trying to, in a very brief way, make the point that the seed of destruction is within humanity, within
Yep.
each one of us, right? That what the Bible would call sin is what's driving us to selfishness, is driving us to self-preservation at the expense of another, is driving us conflicts and all those things, right? I thought it was very poignant and very powerful, because it spoke to me of my own understanding of myself. I am a fallen human being, and I'm not sure that I'm any different from anyone else in that regard. Yes, some of us have done more wrong things than others, but we are still having, you know, given an opportunity for me to do the worst thing, I probably would have taken it, you know, if I wasn't afraid of you know, consequences, exactly.
What came with it.
Yeah, those things, yeah.
I know, I guess if you're not afraid of the consequences, but then don't you think about the consequences of what other people face because of your actions, you know? You know, I've done a lot of thinking about that, you know, consequences of things that you've had to do
Yeah.
that have affected other people in massive ways, and it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling to hold that.
No, it comes back, you know, I know even today.
And obviously
yeah.
it's not your decision to do that, and I would say my father would agree with that full-heartedly. You know, there's a hell of a lot of things he's been, well, worse than me, but you know, he's tormented himself with that for years. You know, gone through PTSD, massive depression,
Yeah.
bouts of God knows what, you know, and that's all to do with things that he's been ordered to do, you know. And I would say that, you know, through gaining power and destruction is probably not the best way of doing things, you know. I just see it a lot in this world, that people, whether you're in a workplace, whether you're watching politics, you know, it's all there, and it's all big egos, I guess.
Yeah.
They want to get things done their own way, with their own
yeah.
ideology, and I have a big mistrust of that. I guess it makes me a bit bitter. I guess I could work on that myself.
it's a right response. I think it's a very visceral, very human response to look at that. And
But it
just,
doesn't make me bitter in a sense that I would take it out on anybody else. It makes me bitter at those people, but that's not the way I want to be. So.
right. No, and that's
But just me being like that maybe wouldn't change anything. You know, they will
Right.
still be there. They will still be doing that thing,
yeah.
and I can disagree with it, but it won't change it.
Yeah, and this is just maybe to bring it back to the topic of conversation. So, how much do you know about what the Christian message will be about? What God did about this problem, what I would call the problem of human fallenness, the problem of human sin? Is there something that in the Christian message there is a solution to that, right? Have you ever been even in kind of in the religious education or
Yeah, I guess
in
before-
church or kind of told what?
Before my dad had gone to Bosnia, yeah.
Right.
I think, we did. We used to go to Sunday school and stuff like that. But obviously, once he came back from that, it was like, and my mum as well, when she came back from that, yeah, that all stopped.
Right.
I've as I've grown up, I've sort of seen that way as well.
Mhm.
That there are some reasons why we probably don't believe.
Yeah. Well, what I've come to realize, come to learn, right, is that what God did, right, what Christian message is that God, knowing that we are like this, He sent His Son, right, Son Jesus, to die for us on the cross, right. So because the problem is, the judgment will be there at the end of our lives. We will be judged. If God, I know, I appreciate you. You're an atheist. You don't believe, but from a Christian perspective, God does exist. He allows us to have freedom, but He also says there will be a judgment at the end, right? No one will escape with what they've done. Everyone will be judged, right? But then no one will also be found guiltless before Him either. From Pope to myself to everyone in the world, we all have our sins that will come to bear in this great judgment court. But then God did something amazing. He sent His Son instead of us to pay for those sins, to pay and take the punishment that we deserve. He took it upon Himself. That is the great love of God, right? So when we accuse God, where's your love?
Selfless thing to do, isn't it?
Very selfless thing to do, exactly, because He sent His own Son, who came willingly to die for us on the cross while we were effectively enemies of Him, right? So when we accuse God, where's your love? Show me, why are you allowing this to happen? He says, I've done it. I've taken the sacrifice. I've taken it upon myself. All you have to do is believe in that. Believe and trust in me. Believe and trust in my Son, who's done this for you, who's then raised to life on the third day, who promises to be with us always until the end of the age, and to follow Him and to do what He says to us for us to do, right? That is
It would be a very nice thing to believe in. I understand that.
Yeah.
But then that in itself, what does that say about our Muslim culture? Is that
Mhm.
completely different to, believing in one thing and believing in another thing?
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling my end. I was actually speaking yesterday for an hour and a half to a very, very nice Muslim on the bench over there, and we exchanged views and opinions.
Does that take something away, or are you entitled to have a different view in yourself?
Well,
because every when they disagree, I always see that as a problem.
Exactly, that is the problem, right? It's fine to disagree. Obviously, not everything can be true at the same time. It's just how we disagree. So he and I disagreed, but we had a very great conversations over an hour and a half where we basically compared notes and we ultimately took away certain things to think about ourselves, right? Because ultimately, we both of us said, look, I could be wrong, but I'm here to search for the truth. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. If that is something else, if I got it wrong, I'll go and search for the truth, and I'm happy to be a Muslim if that is the truth. And he said the same thing about Christianity. If that is true, if you're right, truth is more important, and I'll follow that. Right?
But I guess taken away from someone's own beliefs, is disingenuous in itself. You're entitled to agree with whatever you like,
Yeah.
Trying to portray that this is the right way and this is the wrong way, I don't think often benefits anybody.
Well, at the same time, I would appreciate if someone told, to take the extreme example, if I think, gravity didn't exist. This is ridiculous. No, I know, right?
Flat Earth is out there, mate. So.
Well, if I went to a tall building and said, gravity doesn't exist, look, I'm going to jump and I'll prove it to you. I was like, I would wish that you would stop me at that point and say, look, you look idiot, you'll get killed. You don't do that. And I would appreciate if you pulled me physically so I don't do stupid thing myself. I guess that's the extreme example. I guess what I'm trying to say with that is, if I do it respectfully and if I tell you there's something for you to consider, hey, if you haven't known about this, have a look at it, consider it. I'm putting it before you for your benefit, out of love for you. That's the best I can do, right? I'm not gonna here to force
you can
it.
take it on board, or you don't.
Exactly.
Have to,
You take it on board or you don't. It's a different opinion. It's a different viewpoint.
That comes back to the view
yeah.
you were saying. What would you believe if a God said, "Could I change this or do something about it?"
Yeah.
You know. But I guess the power's in your hands, isn't it? At the end of the day, whether you want to believe or you want to take it away, it's completely up to you.
Yeah. No, exactly. And to me, you know, I went through that
If
transformation.
you find power in that,
transformation.
then no one should be able to take that away from you. If that's how you deal with things, and that's how you take things.
Yeah.
You know, and it benefits you.
Yeah. No,
I
exactly.
wouldn't disagree with anybody doing.
Yeah.
And with me, I've done a lot of work on myself.
Yeah.
And inward thinking, and I feel like I've done that work on myself. And I struggle with things, but you know, I talk to my friends and my family about them, and I get through them. You know, I don't feel the overwhelming need to have, I guess, a faith that gets me through that. In an essence, I guess they're all life problems, and everybody goes through things. And you know, you speak to many different people, and they all have different ideas or views on how they've dealt with it, or you know, and you know, speaking to, I guess, a God that can't speak back to me, I can't really relate to it. You know, that's my view on it. I know it sounds a bit weird for someone that has faith, but I guess I find my reassurance in friends that have been through the same thing, or family that have had the same problems and issues, and talk them through. That gives me sort of a bit of peace.
Got it. No, I appreciate it. No, I was just going to respond to it. So to me, I mean, when I read the Bible, I feel like God is speaking to me, not just to me personally, but He speaks to His people, right? And people who haven't initially believed in Him, but have actually, you know, sometimes Bible is described as a love letter to people, right? If you're willing to open yourself up and listen. But also there's prayer. When I pray, I do really think that God is listening. And then when I see the prayer answered, you know, I wish it would be like Aladdin, you know, just sort of you clean the little thing and it just ghost comes out and you can have the conversation face to face. Some people may have had that, you know, some people say, oh, I've had the vision of an angel and some things have happened. All power to them. I didn't, but I still believe that when I pray, God listens to me, and I've seen prayers answered. I've seen miracles happen. My own life, I believe, has been transformed by a miracle of belief. I wasn't always a believer. And I'm really just here to say, look, there is something out there. There is something greater than us that we need to consider. And ultimately, if Bible is anything to go by, this guy Jesus, who came 2,000 years ago to die for us, you got to think about that a little bit. Why did He do so? How much God has to love us to do that? That is worth, I think, at least thinking about, at least considering.
Of course. Maybe I'll find that one day. You know, I'm not to say that I never would believe that, but obviously at the same time, right now, in the place I am, I'm quite happy.
No problem.
Believing in the way it's not to take away from anybody else.
No problem.
They believe in any deep-seated views they have or faiths. You know?
Yeah, and you've been very respectful, and I appreciate you've been listening to me and giving me a few minutes. And I also want to thank you for the service to this country and to your families as well. If your father was in Bosnia, then I must have benefited in one way or another from his service. Yeah.
I don't know what benefit you got from England being there.
Well. Anyway, it's even if he did a little bit or his presence there did a little bit to stop some of the fighting that was going on, that was really getting some very dirty. I would thank for that as well. No conflict is better than conflict. Well, but there were a lot of other problems certainly to consider.
On that.
I'm sure you can say a lot more.
I'd much rather not be there.
No, I appreciate. No one would. No, the fact that he was sent there, I'm sure he was doing out of service as well.
Well, gonna do it, haven't you? I guess, but very ungodly thing to do in the first place, I would imagine. Not that you have much choice about it.
Indeed. Yeah.
Well, lovely to speak to you.